Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the human mind to look at something that basically dictates every single thing we do, our attitudes. We're going to explore exactly how they form, how the outside world tries to change them, and really incredibly, how we can actually use therapeutic tools to rewire them and heal ourselves. I mean, really think about it for a second. Why do we love the things we love? And how easily can that love, or even a deep dislike, be changed? These are pretty high-stakes questions, right? Because our everyday choices, our beliefs, the way we interact with friends, they're all driven by these internal evaluations. Are your preferences genuinely yours, or have they been slowly molded by the world around you? Well, let's find out. All right, let's jump right in. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The anatomy of an attitude. 2. Theories of inner harmony. 3. Factors in attitude change. And 4. Clinical interventions. Okay, section 1. The anatomy of an attitude. So before we can talk about changing minds, we have to know what we're actually looking at. An attitude isn't just some random, fleeting thought that pops into your head. It is fundamentally an evaluation. It's a learned predisposition expressing how much we like or absolutely dislike various objects, people, or concepts. It is the feeling tone aroused by literally anything: abstract art, fast food, political policies, even how you feel about yourself. The absolute key takeaway here is that attitudes are rooted in information and evaluation, which means, thankfully, they are always open to revision. To really make this stick, let's break an attitude down into its ABCs: affective, behavioral, and cognitive components. Let's use classical music as an example. So the affective component, that's the actual feeling tone. You just love the sound. It makes you feel peaceful. The behavioral component is how you act it out. You're actually going out and buying those symphony tickets, right? And the cognitive component is the believing part. You know the history of the composers and appreciate the cultural weight of the music. This ABC mnemonic is super helpful, so keep it in mind. Moving right along to section 2, theories of inner harmony. Okay, so what happens when those ABCs start to clash inside our heads? Psychologists have a few ways of looking at this. Early learning theories kept it pretty simple. They focused on basic, classical, and instrumental conditioning. Like, if you always meet new people in a beautifully air-conditioned room on a hot day, you associate them with feeling good. Boom, positive attitude. Or if you get praised for expressing a certain opinion, that reward reinforces it. But humans are messy. What happens when things get complicated? That is where consistency theories come in. These theories are all about the mind's intense drive to resolve internal contradictions. Which brings us to Fritz Heider's balance theory. Basically, we crave harmony in our relationships. Think of it like a triangle. Imagine Mary likes Bob. Great, positive link. But Mary is a huge fan of political candidate X. And Bob, he absolutely despises candidate X. Suddenly, we have an unbalanced state. This causes actual psychological tension and discomfort. To get that balance back, Mary has to do something. She either has to change her mind about the politician, change her mind about Bob, or they just have to agree to never ever talk about politics again. We do this all the time without even realizing it. Now, listen to this statement. I am health conscious, but I smoke cigarettes. Just hearing that probably makes you feel a little mental friction, right? This is the core of Leon Festinger's cognitive dissonance theory. When our behaviors and our deeply held beliefs violently collide, it sets off a psychological distress signal. To relieve the tension of that cognitive dissonance, your mind is forced to act. The smoker can change their behavior, right? Just quit smoking. Or they can change the belief and convince themselves that, well, the health warnings are totally overblown. Or, and we do this one a lot, they can just add a new cognitive element, like switching to filtered cigarettes and telling themselves, see, these have filters, so they're safer. I'm still health conscious. It's wild the mental gymnastics we'll do just to reduce our own discomfort. Okay, but what if you don't actually know how you feel? Enter Daryl Bem's self-perception theory. This is kind of a massive plot twist. Bem argued that sometimes we don't act because of our attitude. Instead, we form our attitude because we observe ourselves acting. This is especially true when external incentives are low. So if you sign a petition on the street and nobody paid you to do it or forced your hand, you unconsciously look at your own behavior and deduce, wow, I must really care about this cause. Otherwise, I wouldn't have just signed that for free. We literally become observers of our own actions. And while all this is happening, remember Greenwald's cognitive response theory. We are absolutely not passive sponges. When someone tries to persuade us, our minds actively generate internal thoughts, fighting back against the persuasion, neutralizing it, or even reversing the message entirely. Which bridges perfectly into our next topic. Because let's face it, despite all these active mental defenses we have, external forces are still trying to change our minds every single day. All right, Section 3, Factors in Attitude Change. So changing minds really boils down to three core variables: the source, the message, and the receiver. First, the source. We are heavily influenced by credibility, physical attractiveness, and just general likability. If an attractive, credible expert tells you something, they bypass a lot of your mental filters. Then there's the message itself. Is it a one-sided argument, or does it cleverly acknowledge the opposing view to seem more balanced? And finally, receiver variables. That's us. Are we easily influenced in general? Are we even paying attention? Is a topic relevant to our lives? All of these factors have to perfectly align to break down our cognitive defenses. But what if you actually want to protect your beliefs? That's where McGuire's concept of immunization comes in. Think of it literally, like a medical vaccine. If you're exposed to a mild, easily refutable argument against your belief, it gives you practice. You mentally spar with it and win. This literally immunizes you, building up mental resistance. So when a massive, highly persuasive attack comes along later, your mind has the antibodies, so to speak, to stand its ground. It's an absolutely brilliant way to protect what we hold true. And that brings us to our final section: clinical interventions and healing. Here is the absolute game changer. If an attitude can be learned, it can be unlearned. Rational emotive behavior therapy, or REBT, is a specific type of cognitive behavioral therapy developed by Albert Ellis. Ellis realized something profound. It's not the bad events in our lives that inherently cause anxiety or depression. It is our irrational beliefs about those events. It's the faulty logic, the catastrophic thinking. REBT tackles that head-on to permanently alter those unhealthy beliefs. Let's walk through how this actually works. Notice those first three letters, A, B, C? Yeah, they perfectly mirror the attitude components we talked about at the very beginning. In REBT, A is the activating event, just a raw fact of what happened. B is your belief, usually an irrational, unhealthy thought about that event. And C is the consequence, the emotional distress you feel. But then, therapy introduces D, dispute. The clinician actually helps you argue against your own irrational belief. And once you successfully dispute it, you reach E, the effect. New, healthy emotions and behaviors take over. You have essentially, systematically, rewired your own attitude. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one really powerful question to chew on. Is your most deeply held belief truly yours by logic, or were you simply persuaded by an attractive messenger? Our minds are just incredible machines, constantly balancing, forming, and shifting attitudes to keep us moving forward. And the more you understand this anatomy, the more power you have to intentionally shape your own reality. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning what you know.